Right, so we're going to go ahead and get started this evening. My name is Janessa Dunn, and I am the Director of Admissions here at Skidmore College, and I am joined by five wonderful students who will be able to share more about their experiences this evening. I will share with you that I have two of my wonderful colleagues, Mindy and Deanna, who will be able to support with the Q&A to ensure that you all have questions and have the ability to make sure that we answer as many of those questions as absolutely possible. So we're very thankful that you all are here today. Of course, at the very bottom of your screen, whether that's on your mobile device or on your phone, please know that you are welcome to use the Q&A feature. We want to hear from you in this space. And so at any point in time, this is an open Q&A, so most certainly use that information there. And of course, this session is recorded. And so for admitted students who have joined us for previous sessions, you may have noticed that we have wonderful opportunities for recorded sessions, particularly from faculty, from students, from staff, that you can go back and listen to as you're making your way through as well. I will share with you that the sun is shining in my face. And so if you see a little line across my face, that's a little bit of the glare of the sun. It's the sunset. So I'm glad to see that for this evening. At this particular time, I want to pass it along to our students who are going to introduce themselves. And I will start with our student who's on my screen on the top left, Melanie.
Hi, everyone. I'll introduce myself by talking about what I study and what I'm interested in on campus. So I'm a sophomore here at Skidmore, and I study psychology and social work. I'm a double major, and I'm a head guide here at admissions. But aside from that, I am a research assistant in the religious studies department, and I'm also taking on 2 research assistant positions in the psychology department next semester. I also run a club here called Challah. So we bake challah. It's a type of bread, and then we sell it to people on campus. And then all of the money that we make, we donate to 2 local food programs. One of them is a food pantry, and then the other one supports students when there's breaks from schools, making sure they have meals. So it's a little bit of community service. That's it from me.
Wonderful. Thanks, Melanie. Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia. I'm also a sophomore. I'm from New Jersey. I'm studying studio art and art history. Some extracurriculars I do are outing club, which is our hiking club on campus. I am in Lively Lucy's Coffee House, which is a live music performance club. We plan concerts every week. I'm also on an intramural volleyball team with Braden, and I volunteer at the local bunny sanctuary in Saratoga.
Love to hear that. Thank you so much, Julia. Ashley?
Hi guys, my name's Ashley. I'm also a sophomore at Skidmore. I'm studying international affairs and I'm minoring in environmental science and Spanish. I'm also from Western Massachusetts, forgot about that part. Aside from being a tour guide, I'm a member of the Women's Ultimate Frisbee team, the Skidmore Wombats. I'm also a part of the Big Brothers Big Sisters Club, which is a volunteering organization with younger littles in the area. And I'm also a transfer student.
Thank you, Ashley. Dorian.
Uh, hey guys, I'm Dorian. I'm a sophomore as well. I'm studying business. While I'm minoring in sociology, I'm also planning to minor in statistics. Outside of being a student, I'm on an intramural basketball team right now. It's a tough season, uh, you know, going on right now. We're 6-0, so it's going great for us, but still looking strong. Outside of that, I'm also part of Ujima, which is it's a lot of Caribbean, African, and African American students comes together to form like a diversity program, which is a part of a bigger network. It's pretty fun. We do a bunch of events and stuff. So yeah.
Thank you, Dorian. And congrats on 6-0. That's pretty awesome. And Braden.
Good evening. My name is Braden Quinlan, and I'm from Arlington, Mass. I'm a senior here at Skidmore, majoring in biology with minors in chemistry, statistics, and our honors form. I'm also pre-med. Besides working in admissions, I work as an EMT outside of campus. I do research within the biology department. I take drum lessons on campus, and I went abroad last spring to Copenhagen, Denmark.
Wowza, wowza. So this group of wonderful students, they're all over the place, which I really, really enjoy in that space. And so if you have any questions based on their introductions, please feel free to put those in the Q&A. We want to hear from you this evening in this space. And you know, just to get us started and kicked off amongst this group, as you all know, we have high school seniors and students who are pursuing a gap year, who are getting ready for their next step. You know, going into college. Some, you know, have decided that Skidmore is their home, and some are still kind of figuring it out. And both of those are absolutely supported. And so, as it relates to the transition from high school to college, I'm curious to know, just on the forefront of your mind there, what advice would you give to students during this time? Think of yourself in April of your senior year.
Yeah, just starting us off, I would say look at kind of the unique things about a school, right? Every school is gonna like offer classes and probably like abroad and certain other things as well. But what kind of sets apart a school are, for example, like the location, right? Some are in a bustling city, some are in the middle of nowhere, some are a nice mix like Skidmore or in Saratoga. Community, a big thing. Between professors and students, to student ratios, things of that nature. Those were the big two things for me, right? Because I'm assuming if you're looking at Skidmore, you're looking at a lot of the other similar schools, right? We're gonna have small class sizes and stuff like that. So now you're really just between similar schools. So what separates those schools apart can be important.
I think it's also important if you're able to speaking to current students. So you're here, you're doing that. That's a really good tool to understand what it's like to be a student at those schools that you're looking at. So whether it be Skidmore or somewhere else, it's really important to get a lot of different perspectives on what my experience is different than Ashley's or Julia's, but we're all students here and we're all involved in different ways. And so being able to know what it's like to actually experience Skidmore or that school, I think can be helpful in a decision-making process to really set apart what Braden was saying, similar schools in terms of small class size and environments and location.
Those are excellent responses, Melanie and Braden. And, you know, of course, as it relates to, you know, kind of delving into what this process looks like for our students, we have a really great question that has come up in the Q&A, and it relates to many of you who either have double majors or double minors and experiencing and exploring many different disciplines. And so the question is it too difficult to balance studying two different majors while also participating in work study or clubs? And is it recommended to take on two majors if you want to study abroad eventually? So I think lots of you can answer this question, but I think that's a good one to really lean into.
So I'm not a double major. I'm actually an art history minor, but I find that a lot of the time people don't even plan to do a double major. They just kind of pick it up on the way, or I picked up my minor on the way because it was really complementary with my art major. But it is definitely manageable to do extracurriculars outside of a double major. I'm sure you know, you guys who are double majors can definitely attest to that. On top of doing work study too, I've been a tour guide since last spring and I've always found it manageable. Usually it'll be really flexible with your schedule. I know that we make our own schedules basically as tour guides, and you also sign up for however many shifts a week that you want. I know it's similar at other jobs. So it's definitely not unmanageable. I also I think you can definitely participate in extracurriculars if you want to. Our clubs are really open to people being kind of non-committal too. So you can, be a part of a club, but not go every single week if that's not manageable for you that week. And then as for studying abroad, I don't think it affects, your options for studying abroad, being a double major versus just doing one. It's definitely not a requirement.
Just speaking on the study abroad piece, it's rare to find a college, if you're interested in the sciences, that you can go abroad. And especially if you're pre-med or something like that. Skidmore, if you want to go, they'll make sure it happens. Whether that's be like your financial aid transfers with you or giving you more aid if the program's more expensive or whatever it be. And Skidmore's really good about that. But if you really do want to go broad, specifically if you're thinking a science major or minor or something like that, Skidmore, I would keep on your list for that reason.
Yeah, to Braden's point, they really do make it possible regardless of what you're studying. If studying abroad is something that's important to you, they make sure that it's possible. Whether you're pre-med like Braden or you're a double major like me, social work is a pre-professional field, and they're separately accredited. It's different than the rest of the majors here. So classes can be tricky, and you do have to take certain classes at certain times. They're not always offered. So you work with your advisor for the social work department to figure out which semester can I study abroad. There's 2 different semesters within that department that they recommend would make your life easier in terms of the classes you have to take, but it's always an option. I have friends who did not follow the order that you're supposed to go in and have still had those opportunities to go abroad, to be double majors. There's plenty of double majors in all of my classes, whether it's, and they're like really interesting mixes. They're not always like things that you would think go together, like psychology and social work. For me, I know people who have done like theater and geosciences. So really you follow what you're interested in. And like Julia said, if it becomes a double major, it becomes a double major. But everything is encouraged. Explore what's interesting to you, and your advisors are there to help you piece that together and figure out what works.
Excellent. And that's excellent advice. And you all are wonderful as it relates to, having the opportunity to learn about how to balance life. And so one of the other pieces that we would love to be able to talk about is the residential experience at Skidmore, where most students are living on campus all 4 years. They're living, eating, breathing Skidmore in this space. And so can you all kind of think back to your first year about your roommate and kind of talk a little bit about that process in terms of finding new friends, being able to build community, and being able to still be engaged in community during your time at Skidmore?
I can speak to that a little bit. So as a transfer student, I would say coming to campus was a little different for me. But I participated in one of Skidmore's pre-orientation programs, which really, really helped me feel acclimated to the student life on campus before just immediately jumping into academic life. So, as a new student, not necessarily to college, but just to a new college community, I would say maybe take a look at those pre-orientation programs because they offer so many of them. I did one of Skidmore's outdoor based programs. They're like scoop programs. Forgive me, I don't remember what the acronym stands for if someone wants to help me out after this. But yeah, I find them really, really important just because you can meet people and engage with your peers before actually jumping into academic life and living on campus because it can be tricky to navigate that at first, I think. And in terms of like residence life and moving into a college campus, I mean, it's definitely quite the experience. I think I can't necessarily speak to that because my residential life situation is a little different. I started off living in a residence hall at Skidmore and then transitioned into moving into one of the on-campus apartments with some of my friends who I actually met during the pre-orientation program, which was really, really awesome. And it worked out super well for me. But I know that living in the residence halls is also a really cool way to connect with people. And I did get to do that for like the first week that I was at Skidmore, and I still have friends who I lived in a suite with in that area. So it is a cool way to connect, especially with the different like special interest communities, which I'm sure other people on the panel can speak to a little more.
So I'll give a non-typical example. So I came in fall of 2020. If you don't remember, pandemic was pretty crazy during that time. But I was still able to find my friend group and have fun despite minimal classes being in person, and not having a roommate at all, actually. So freshman year, I didn't have a roommate. Sophomore year, I didn't have a roommate. Um, and then junior and senior year, you're typically in on-campus apartments, what I've lived in. Just the typical housing progression, since I've kind of mentioned it. Freshman year, you're either in a triple or a double. We've been leaning towards a triple the past few years, but it's not guaranteed. Also, a double isn't guaranteed. And then sophomore year, you're typically in a single, which is really nice, that you have your own room starting off so early on campus. So it happened to be that because of COVID, I got a single on my first year, but I was still able to, find friends from online Zoom classes. And actually, my best friend was in the same suite as me, so we shared a bathroom and stuff like that. That worked for the first year or so, and then you find new friends, and friends fade and come and such like that. And it's a natural evolution of college. It's probably rare that you're going to keep the same best friend group the entire time. There's going to be additions, there's going to be subtractions, but that's how it works.
Yeah, speaking on like the natural progression of like the housing assignments. I remember last year, freshman year, I was in a triple in McClellan Hall, which is one of the closely lit like dorms in the South Quad. And that's another thing. Like I think because our residence halls are so close together, it's pretty easy to like link up with friends and just like be around each other, meet new people, all that. And then this year I'm living in a single in Penfield, and next year I'm set to live in an on-campus apartment. So I kind of had like all three experiences. But I mean, it's not bad, honestly. It's pretty like you kind of get used to it pretty fast. I'd say in the first couple weeks, like there's the acclimation aspect and Scoop, which is a pre-orientation program for the freshmen, incoming freshmen. I think it helps, get acclimated and get used to the setting and, find your people. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, in addition to living, how's the food, y'all? How's the food?
I can speak to that. I was a very picky eater before coming to college, and so food was very much a concern for me. I was like, "Oh, what am I going to eat? I don't eat a lot of colors. I don't eat a lot of varieties. Vegetables were a challenge. I only like broccoli. They always have broccoli though. I don't know. But anyway, we have themed dinners. We have certain days that you can expect the same type of food. So Taco Tuesday, Chicken Finger Friday. But there's such a variety of options. We have, I think, about 8 stations. There's a vegan and vegetarian option every single day and a salad bar on top of that. They usually have fruit and yogurt in the morning as well. And then we have like a make your own sandwich bar, which can help with, you know, finding something to eat. There's always pizza, and they have like 7 different options. So they have the plain, but then they also put different things on it. They've got, they always have some sort of protein. So usually grilled chicken or some type of fish at dinner, with a couple of vegetables. They usually have like mashed potatoes, or some form of potato. A lot of different varieties of French fry, which I appreciate. And then there's a make your own pasta station. So you can get a plain bowl of pasta with nothing on it. You could get toppings like meatballs, peas, whatever it is that's interesting to you. They have like 10 different options on any given night. And so that makes life a little bit easier. They have 3 different sauces to choose from. And then there's the global station. So they have some sort of global cuisine and a noodle bar. So it's like make your own ramen in a way. So there's such a variety. They also have a cereal bar. So if none of that sounds good to you, there's always cereal. And they've got like 10 different cereal options, milk and dairy alternatives, chocolate milk. Like there's a lot to choose from in the dining hall. So I usually don't struggle to find something that I want to eat. It's also helped me broaden what I like eating because there's always so many different options. I'm not used to having that many options at home. So it's kind of a fun way to explore new types of food. And it's a fun place to be. Your first year, you're usually on the unlimited meal plan. If you live in a residence hall, that's the rule. So you can go into the dining hall as many times a day as you'd like. So you could eat as many times a day as you'd like, or you could go sit in there, hang out with friends, do homework. Some people do that. So I really like the dining hall for all of those reasons. But I think the food is pretty good. I'm being honest. I I like the food.
I love to hear that, Melanie. And so I'm curious, Julia, Ashley, Braden, and Dorian, what are your takes?
I have a huge sweet tooth, so my favorite part of the dining hall is the bakery. Um, I absolutely love the bakery. I'm hitting it up breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They have muffins in the morning, scones, donuts sometimes on the weekend, and then they always have like 2 or 3 types of cookies at lunch, and then they really switched up a dessert. So my friends and I have like a running list of our favorite desserts at the dining hall. And it changes all the time. And I'm living in an apartment next semester, so I won't be you can still have a dining plan if you live in the apartments, but I probably will be making all of my own food next year, so I'll be missing the desserts at the dining hall for sure. And also the you know, ease and accessibility of the dining hall as well.
I'm all about those sweets, y'all. The chocolate chip cookies, and it was a really good maple brownie, blondie brownie a few weeks ago. I was like, oh, wow, that was good. Brayden, I saw you come off mute.
I love the food. You know this answer. You hear it all the time. Um, I think it's great. It's I don't yeah. I'm, as you know, a senior, so I'm graduating, and like now I need to like make my food, all the food, not even like just dinner, like lunch too. Because I go to the dining hall for lunch. But yeah, like Melanie and Julia said, there's always food available, even if it's like the worst of the worst day, or like for what you like, there'll still be something there. Um, Bakery's killer. Freshman year, those cookies got to me.
They're so good. They're so good.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much in the same boat with the bakery. Like, I remember when I first got here, my friend and I, we were kind of like ranked all the desserts as well. We had malva pudding as number one, and when we had that, we had to like meet the head baker. Her name is Stephanie, by the way, lovely person. But yeah, the bakery is definitely my favorite part of the dining hall. It never misses. And there's always like something like somebody was saying earlier, Melanie was saying earlier. There's always something to eat. There's something to choose from. You'll find something. So yeah.
Love it. Love it. Ashley, do you concur?
Yeah, for sure. I personally like how the dining hall has a lot of make your own options because if you are coming in as maybe a more picky eater or just like a little bit hesitant to explore a dining hall, because dining halls, at least in my opinion, are just like they can be intimidating and scary in terms of like the food because it's like a potluck. It's you get there and there's a bunch of different food and it's all like lined up in trays and it's for me that's scary. And it was at my previous school too, and it always has been, I guess. Like that's my take on that kind of setup with food. But I think at Skidmore, it's nice to be able to like kind of have some autonomy over it. Like is it called the West Side? There's a grill where you can like make your own eggs on the grill, like crack your own eggs, scramble them up. You can add like I don't know, chopped peppers and onions. And I personally like that is so special to have in a dining hall because they also have options that are pre-made for you, and that's excellent. But I think it's a cool alternative if maybe you're a little hesitant to try like the eggs that are in the main line and you want to make some of your own. You can typically do that. So that's really cool. So I think those make your own options, like when they have the live pasta bar and you can have them flip your pasta for you in a pan and then they have it out the other end. Like that's really awesome. And also I'm gonna fifth the bakery situation. It's so good and I love the chocolate chip cookies. And I always get two because I save one for later.
So good for me with a cup of coffee, like a cappuccino right next door. So good, so good. I appreciate all of those perspectives there. And even as a staff member, y'all, I love the dining hall. I love it, love it, love it. They had some really great pork bao buns a few weeks ago that I had definitely more than one right that day. So at this particular time, of course, we have, you all have come to Skidmore in slightly different ways. I know, Ashley, you mentioned that you transferred into Skidmore. We have several of you who are coming in different parts of your experience and, during COVID and a pandemic, and also just getting to learn Skidmore. And so the next question actually comes from some questions that have come through Discord. For those of you who are not engage with Discord, class of 2028. It's a great way to connect with other students in the class of 2028 at Skidmore and current students. But for each of you, how would you think, or how do you think of someone, or let me put it this way, someone from outside Skidmore would describe a Skidmore student? So think of yourself of how would you describe a Skidmore student?
I did an info session with someone else who's going to be the SGA president, Josh Maxwell. And he put it, the best way I can describe it is curious. They encourage us here to explore our interests. And I think that it really shows in how students take classes here. You're not barred from taking classes that are interesting to you. So like I am a social work and psychology major, and I took a religious studies class, and now I do research in the religious studies department. I am not taking on a minor in that department. I don't take classes in that department anymore. I just thought it was cool, and I'm allowed to be curious, and I'm allowed to explore those things. There's nothing stopping me from doing that. So I think that's how I would describe a Skidmore student.
If I were to give one word, I would say kind. Which I know may sound like not silly, but like underestimating or something like that. But I mean, I'm sure you have people in like your high school. I mean, maybe you don't, but likely you have people in your high school or something, or wherever you're at in life right now that aren't like the nicest people ever. And not saying that it's like flat out like little perfect place here at Skidmore, because nowhere is. But overall, the people at Skidmore are nice. They're kind. They I guess want to be here. Um, I mean, curious for sure, like Melanie said. Um, but it isn't this like cutthroat environment where like you're fighting against each other for these grades and everyone's miserable all the time. Like that's not how it is. Everyone's kind. They want to help you out. Not only students, but faculty, staff, like the admissions personnel. I mean, everyone on campus is kind. And it really makes your experience a whole lot better, in my opinion.
I was gonna say eclectic, maybe, because I feel like I run into people who do some of the most interesting things on campus, and this might be echoing what Melanie was saying about being curious, but one of my friends is a physics major, and then she's minoring in dance, environmental science, and English. And it's crazy how that all panned out for her, but it's also so interesting to have a little sneak peek into people's lives and what they might want to do after graduating, because you can kind of pursue a little bit of everything here, I think, and especially with all of the college requirements, which I'm sure you're all a little bit familiar with at this point. You kind of have to dip your toes into a little bit of everything. And then people pursue some really cool things. And then outside of academics, people study abroad in the coolest places. I know people who are all over the world right now, which is super exciting and something to look forward to for me, because I can, I don't know, feed into other people's experiences. And all the different clubs that are offered on campus that people are a part of. That same physics major is also on the Frisbee team and does some other really cool stuff with her time, is like a big hiker, and it's kind of fun to read into everyone's lives and what they do outside of academics, but also within the academic space, because you can really be creative with that.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I kind of agree with like the eclectic point. Like, you really will meet somebody that does anything that you could possibly think of. Like, there's people that are like equestrians that I know, and then I know other people that just play basketball that they've been playing for their entire lives, or baseball or something like that, or somebody sings or somebody dances. And like you really meet everybody from you know, every range of careers, you know. But I would say that people would describe Skidmore students as pretty unique in that sense because we're not really afraid to go out and find something that we like to do or, something like that. Or like we'll just be creative and turn any kind of setting into something fun or something that we like to do. Like I remember one time we had like a fire drill, or it wasn't a drill, it was actually a fire at like 3 a.m. and everybody had to evacuate. And they just like outside, they just like started playing music and having like a little party just for fun, just to get along with each other. It's like it's a nice sense of community, and I don't think you can find that anywhere else. So yeah.
It's looking like Melanie is remembering some things as well.
I think I was there for that. My roommate took pictures with the fire truck at 3:45 in the morning. We're an interesting group of kids.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm so glad that you all shared a little bit about those experiences. So there are a couple of questions that are really kind of centered towards upstate New York. How's the weather? And also, how's Saratoga Springs? What do people do on the weekends when it's not 3:45 in the morning next to a fire truck?
I can talk a little bit about this. I love to be outdoors. I try to be outside as much as possible every day if I can. It becomes a little bit challenging when you live in upstate New York, but I've found other avenues for getting outside. So we have 150 acres of woods on campus called Northwoods, and they're hiking trails. They're like Skidmore's best kept secret, I think, because people do use them and access them, but I'm like the only one that is there every single day of the week. So I definitely think if you love, to be outside, love to hike, you can still go take a snowy walk there if it's snowing out. A lot of people ski on the weekends. They go to either Gore Mountain or West Mountain. Both are pretty close by. And I believe that they do Skidmore discounts too. And we have a ski club that does a raffle where you can ski for free and get your rentals taken care of. So that happens once a week during the winter months. I also went tubing, like snow tubing at one of the ski mountains through a free trip from the peer health educators. So that was a lot of fun. But the town is also a really great resource. We have a ton of great restaurants. We have a ton of great coffee shops. It's fun to like just walk into town and get some work done with a friend, make work a little bit more exciting. And we also have Saratoga Spa State Park, 15 minutes away. So I like to go there on walks. The Adirondack Mountains are at our fingertips. So there's a lot you can do even when it's cold outside. I promise. You can build a snowman or something.
What do other folks do on the weekend? I'm just curious. Julia really enjoys the outdoors and enjoys food and those other opportunities. How do you all spend your time?
Well, I will say Saratoga Springs is kind of a central hub between some major cities as well. So while there's a lot to do in Saratoga Springs, especially if you're a foodie and you like restaurants, because the restaurants here are quite amazing. Um, my friends and I went to see Noah Kahn concert in Montreal like last weekend, was it? And the drive was pretty easy. It was just like straight up north for a couple of hours, and it's right there. So it's like if you want to make something happen, you can, and there is transportation. If you or your friends don't have a vehicle, there are bus systems where you can get a ticket and, get between Montreal, New York City, Boston, all of those kind of cool spaces if you want to check it out over a weekend sometime and you have time to do that if you're not swamped with academics, which sometimes students will be. But yeah, so there are things to do out and around Saratoga Springs. So that's also something to keep in mind.
Yeah, no, I really like Saratoga Springs, honestly. I'm from New York City, so I mean it's kind of a big change from a city aspect to just a small town. But honestly, I really like it. I'm actually set to stay here over the summer, so that's gonna be pretty interesting. And honestly, I'm excited. I'm applying to work in a lot of the stores downtown, which is pretty cool because downtown Saratoga, like if you just go down Broadway, they just have like a bunch of niche little shops with like just mom and pop shops with like friendly owners and just it's a nice community. So I mean it's pretty cool. And yeah, I mean I think you'll definitely find something that you like in Saratoga. Like there's definitely something for everybody and I think it's a nice spot.
I'm so glad to know that you all have enjoyed, your time. And I know that one of the questions came from a student who is from Southern California. And I will tell you, as a person who was born and raised in the Deep South, I have survived the upstate New York seasons. And I can share with you, you're going to get all 4 seasons up here. And it's also one where it is gorgeous in the fall. Absolutely gorgeous. I still want to do everything that Julia has mentioned as it relates to enjoying, snowshoeing and skiing, which was a foreign concept to me, being originally from Alabama. But also like Dorian being able to enjoy the summer and how beautiful and bright it actually is. And so you'll get a little bit of everything while you're here in upstate. So there's a question that has come from a student who absolutely loves theater, but doesn't want to be a theater major. So do any of you know anyone, or are you yourself involved in the performing arts? Is it easy to get involved and to get roles? What does that look like for students?
So in high school, I did like the tech stuff for theater, and I did it my first year on campus. I've since fizzled out of it. But they were really accepting, right? I never took a theater class here at Skidmore. I guess liked doing it, and they fit me in where they could. So that's kind of our philosophy, I guess. As I believe Melanie mentioned, right? Like if you want to take a class in theater, even if it's just one, right, and that's not your major, that's totally fair. Same thing with like music. If you want to be in the orchestra, if you don't want to be a music major, that's fine. If you want to be in the main show for our theater department, but you're not a music major, excuse me, a theater major, that's completely fine. They would love to just have you involved. If you want to talk more to a theater-y person, theater major or minor, or someone that even participates, you can like send another question and we'll respond with someone's email.
I'm not involved in the theater department. I also did tech in high school, but I had one of my roommates my first year here is a theater major, and she does a lot of like working in the box office. There's a lot of ways to get involved that they're not just for theater majors, as Braden said. You can act, you can direct, you can stage manage, you can do costume design, set design, and you don't have to be a major to be involved in those things. You can also there's a 1 credit class called Theater Company, and that's a good way of getting credit for the work that you do extracurricularly. Because if you're planning on just like doing it for fun, you might as well get a credit for doing it. I don't know much more than that, but I know that there's 1 main stage and 1 black box production each semester, as well as 3 to 6 studio labs, which are smaller productions. So there's a lot of opportunities to be involved in a production in whatever way works for you if you're not planning on majoring. But it's definitely possible to do what you'd like to do and be involved in the theater department.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Thank you both. So as we think about, Skidmore overall, you talked a little bit about the food, about residence halls, about what you're doing on the weekends. What are some of your favorite traditions for each of you? I know you're involved in a variety of different clubs. Some are maybe large scale, some may be smaller scale. What are some of your favorite things that you look forward to every year?
My favorite tradition happened this past weekend. It was Earth Day. Obviously everyone knows it was Earth Day. It's a national holiday, but um it's celebrated at Skidmore through a music festival where we have a ton of different artists come to perform. This year we had 3 Skidmore bands, 1 Skidmore DJ, and then we had a few different openers that were smaller indie bands. And then we had Maud Latour come, who is she's like a rising indie pop artist who I've listened to since high school. So I was really excited. So it's basically like Skidmore's Coachella. Everyone sets up blankets on the lawn. It's an outdoor performance. Everyone stays all day, dances with their friends. We also have the Earth Day Bazaar where students will table outside on the lawn and you can sell your work. So we had a lot of students selling jewelry. I sold prints of my paintings and it was a really great experience. So we also had a rock wall, we had a bouncy house, we had a taco truck. So it's my favorite tradition by far.
I'm
Um, oh, do you want to go? Oh. I'd say I really like intramural soccer. And that's because it happens every fall semester. It's indoor soccer. I'd say that's because it kind of really feels like the World Cup because you really see everybody that you know, but they might not know each other, and they're just all competing against each other just for the sake of playing soccer. And I mean, I think it's always just pretty fun just compete, leave it on the floor, and just have fun. And just on a random like Tuesday, Thursday on like 9 p.m. at the gym. Yeah.
I think my favorite tradition is the Big Green Scream. This is still my first year at Skidmore, but I think it's definitely been one of the most fun and exhilarating sports games to watch. And it's so fun to like see everyone in the crowd that you might know at the Big Green Screen, which let me clarify actually. Um, it's one of the biggest sporting events that Skidmore hosts, and it's 2 home basketball games. And it's the men's and women's team back to back playing another team. Um, and the crowd gets so rowdy. It's so much fun to be a part of the crowd and to like watch the team and see who you might actually know on the basketball team because maybe you didn't know somebody was on the team before, but you get to see them play. Um, and there are some there's like a fun intermission kind of moment where there was a dance team, one of the Skidmore dance teams that came out and performed during I think it was, I don't know if it was like a halftime or it was between the first and the second game um, that that happened, but definitely super fun, brings people together. Um, and I don't know if you're into watching sports or if you're not, like it's really awesome because you just feel more connected to the Skidmore community that way. So it's super fun.
My favorite tradition is Big Show, which is when we bring in like a pretty good sized music artist. It's not like Beyonce or Taylor Swift, but it's like a pretty good one. This year was Saint Motel and someone else. I love Saint Motel. Um, my sophomore year was Rico Nasty, who I'd never heard of before, but it was amazing. Sadly, none of my other panelists got to experience it. Best night on this campus by far. So it's a really great tradition we have.
I guess I can go too. Skidmania is probably my favorite. It's this really big musical showcase where students will audition and get to perform music from 50 years ago that year. So it happens every fall. So this past fall, it was music from 1973, which is really fun because my parents grew up in the 70s. So that's music that I had in my house a lot. So it was really cool to just like, it's really cool to get to hear your peers like show off their talents because again, you don't have to be a music major to participate in that. So you might have biology and see someone from your lab like shredding on a guitar and singing and they're like really awesome. And it's just like, it's a fun time and people come from the downtown area. And I got to talk to this woman who graduated from the class of 53 because she was sitting next to me and we just chatted each other up during intermission. But it's a really fun time.
Nice. I definitely want to go to Skidmania. I wanted to so badly, and I was too late. Those tickets went fast last year. So I'm so glad that is a tradition that you enjoy, Melanie, and for all of you in that space there. So there is a question that has come from a student here, and this is more academically focused, but wanted to ask, how many advisors do you have? I know that many of you do have various areas. What does that look like? Is it a team? Do you feel supported? What does that look like for you?
I can go for it. It depends on what you're doing. It's very dependent on each student. Typically, if you're double majoring, you have one advisor per major. You can also get other advisors through other programs here. So if you're pre-med or pre-health or pre-veterinary, that kind of vein, you might have an HPAC advisor, which is a health professions advisory committee advisor. I mean, you would have one. I know Braden can go into details about that. I don't personally have one, but that's a secondary advisor to your major advisor. Some people have the same person for both. It just works out that way for certain people, but technically speaking, you would have two separate advisors for that to make sure that you're doing all the right things for every type of thing you want to pursue here at Skidmore and after Skidmore. There's also smaller types of advising where you wouldn't be assigned a specific advisor, but if you're going to study abroad, you'd make an advising meeting with one of the study abroad counselors, making sure that you're picking the right program for you and getting the experience that you want. So there's plenty of types of advising options, but ones that you get assigned are for your major. You get a first year advisor through your Scribner seminar, which is like your first semester seminar class. And until you declare your major, that person acts as your academic advisor to guide you through until you declare, which can be at any point by the time you reach the second semester of your second year here. So you have plenty of time to decide that. That was quite the tangent on my end.
Melanie, I think you did a great job answering that question for us in terms of advising. So thank you for our student who did submit that question. And for those who are still curious about anything, about the student's experience, we do have a few minutes to answer some additional questions that you may have. So feel free to use the Q&A. But the next question that I would love to ask each of you, and one did just come through, so I'm going to expedite this one as well. If you get sick on the weekends, is there a nurse on campus? Is there an urgent care? What does that look like for you all?
So so I know the question was if you get sick on the weekends. I can answer that too, but if you get sick during the week, we have our health services, which is located on the first floor of one of our residence halls, Johnson Tower. So you can make an appointment online with them, or you can call them and the receptionist will make an appointment with you. And then you'll go and you see a licensed healthcare professional, and they can either recommend you to a local specialist, whether it be for an x-ray or to see an eye specialist or something like that. And so then you can go take your doctor's note, and you can either get someone from campus safety to drive you there, or a friend to drive you, or drive yourself to do that. or they can treat certain things there on site within their range. If you get sick or injured on the weekends, we have multiple urgent cares nearby. Unfortunately, I've had to drive friends to urgent cares on, the weekends and things like that for minor injuries, but the turnover has been pretty fast. And so we do have an ER and urgent cares nearby. And we also have the bus that will take you into town. And once you're in town, a lot of them are within walking distance. So very accessible to get medical treatment.
We also have our on-campus EMTs on the weekend. So that's 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Friday and Saturday night. So say something happens over there during that time frame, a New York State EMT, so it's pretty much the exact same thing you would get if you called 911, will come, and you just have to call campus safety. What I really like about that, well, two things. Number one, it's free. Ambulances are like $2,000, even though they're driving you literally four minutes down the street to Saratoga Hospital. Additionally, say if it was something regarding like intoxication or something like that, if you're underage, Skidmore prides itself with making sure your health and safety is priority, so you won't get in trouble for that if you call SCEMS, is what they call the on-campus EMTs, which is nice. Could be worse.
Thank you for that, Braden and Julia. That's super helpful. And I know, Braden, you are one of work with our on-campus EMT in that space as well. So which is, I think, is a really neat opportunity for current students in that space. So thank you for sharing that. There's another question that has come up for you all. And this question is academically centered. Can you share a little bit more about a peer tutoring program, how easy or difficult it may be to find a tutor through that program? What is it called at Skidmore? What does that look like for students? We talked a little bit about Scrivener seminars, but in general, in terms of support.
So Skidmore has multiple different facets of tutoring and academic help. First off, all professors have office hours, and even if they don't match up with your schedule, 9 times out of 10, the professor will make it like a separate appointment to make sure you can see them. If it's in that off chance they don't, we have what's called PAC, peer academic coaching, which runs in our 14 kind of largest departments on campus from Sunday night through Thursday night from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Some of these departments, for example, are math and stats, management and business, biology, chemistry, health and human physiology, just to give some examples there. And what it is students that have excelled in the introductory courses, so maybe intro bio, management and business, like MB 107 it's called, some of the marketing and accounting classes, I believe. And they are there to tutor you, right? They know the concepts inside and out. They also know how the professor teaches the concept, and they know how it's going to be like graded on tests and things like that. So it really is a good, well-rounded experience. You may want to know, like, since Skidmore has 44 majors, what if I'm taking a class in like history, for example, what doesn't have a PAC? For that, you would just contact our Student Academic Services or SAS office, and they can set you up with an individual tutor. Again, that's completely free. There's no charge. They just don't have them like readily available like PAC does, so it may take a little bit more time. Also, some classes have tutors like attached to them. So like I know a psych research methods class does, one of my bio class, it's actually a few of my bio classes have, where like the department will hire a tutor specifically for that class, who has taken it previously.
It's an excellent overview, Braden. That's super helpful. Thank you for that. And like you said, there's so many different facets of support, and of course, it goes beyond academics. You have peer health educators. You have so many wonderful opportunities to have peer-to-peer connections, and ways in addition to professional staff. And so there's some ways to get involved and engaged into that space. And so now that we have about 5 minutes left, I'm curious to know for each of you, why Skidmore for each of you? And I imagine that each of these questions, or each of your answers rather, may be different in that space. So I'm curious to know, why did you choose to enroll here and stay here?
I can go first. I applied early decision round 1. So I was pretty confident that Skidmore was the place for me, and I wouldn't have been able to make that decision to apply early decision round 1 if I didn't know for a fact that I was going to receive financial aid that was accommodating to the need that I have. So Skidmore is need aware and meets 100% of demonstrated need, and that was something that I needed in a school. I wanted a small liberal arts education. I really liked Skidmore when I toured it 3 times. I really felt that it was a welcoming environment. I still do. So I knew that I wanted to be here. I just needed to know that I could afford to be here, and I can. I pay what I would pay to go to a SUNY. I'm a New York State resident, so I can afford to go here in the same way that I'd be paying to go to a SUNY school. So this was a no-brainer to me. I knew that this was the place for me, and I can afford to go here because of the financial aid office. So thank you, financial aid.
Yeah, I'm gonna second the financial aid thing. When I was applying to transfer from my previous institution, that was a big factor for me. And one of my deciding factors when I chose to commit to Skidmore College, was my financial aid package and how kind people in the financial aid office are when trying to figure things out and settle financial aid situations. But also the reason that I chose to apply to Skidmore in the first place was really, I think it was the academic community that drew me here the most right off the bat, as well as the student body. But academically, I came from a larger public institution, and it was hard to connect with my professors. And right when I got here, I just felt so at home. All my professors know me by my name. I say hi to them all the time. Um, I feel like a lot of them are still my informal advisors. Like I go and talk to them, and office hours are generally just open. You can knock on their door if you need a hand with something, and professors are very willing to help and have really, they come from such interesting backgrounds. But they're real people, like it's not scary to go up and talk to them and ask questions about not only class content, but just their research experience, their life experience, because they all, like I said, are super interesting people. So I really like that aspect of the academic community because it's not cutthroat. I'm like actively learning all of the time in my classes from my peers and from my professors, and I don't feel like just a number. I would say I feel like a real person in a rigorous academic institution, but I can access the resources that I need when I need them. So that's why I chose Skidmore.
I chose Skidmore because largely just I can't explain it, but when I toured campus, I just immediately knew that it was home for me. And I also applied early decision 1. I was like all for Skidmore. I didn't even want to tour Skidmore in the first place because I thought it was going to be too small for me. But my mom encouraged me to tour. She had toured with my brother 5 years prior. And she said, she like knew it was the place for me. The art program is amazing. The location's amazing with the town and the, like plentiful opportunities to get outside and hike. As well as the, just like you were saying, Ashley, like the really small supportive academic community too. And I've found multiple, staff as well that are that I'm really close with and who have just like helped me all the way since last year, guiding me in, all of the decisions I need to make. And going back to what I said about Skidmore, I thought it might be too small for me. The size is like one of my favorite things about it. I feel like the community is so strong because of it, and I just see so many friendly faces on campus every day, and I feel like I've just really gotten to know people in my classes every semester. I don't know, new people through clubs all the time, and then still been able to maintain like my, 5 best friends that I've had since the first night of school, just because I don't know, people are very open-minded, open to new friendships, just open to new experiences in general. So that's why I chose Skidmore.
Yeah, I know when I was applying, I really wanted a school because I was used to it just coming before, going to school before Skidmore. I always went to a small school, so and I really liked how that kind of just allowed me to know my teachers and my peers because that really helps with academics, just feeling comfortable in, your learning spaces. Just because, again, like we were saying with the advisors, like you really get to know people that care about you and get to know you as a person, and really become friends with you're really becoming friends with them. So, yeah, the size was a really big factor for me. And I'd also say just like the financial aid, I have to agree. They really do work with you. Like they do whatever they can. Like they'll move mountains just to make sure that you're comfortable with your financial aid and you can afford to come to Skidmore.
Yeah, when I was looking at colleges, I went to a relatively competitive high school, and I knew that college could really amp that up a whole nother level, and I was 100% not for that. Um, you shouldn't be, competing with your peers. You should be helping each other out. I was a firm believer in that. So Skidmore's community, or a college community where it was the opposite, right? Was helpful and kind, like I already mentioned, really stuck out to me, and that was Skidmore. Out of the um, over a dozen schools I applied to, unfortunately. I hope you didn't do what I did. But when making that decision, Skidmore was a clear standout. To be honest, the only reason I applied in the first place was because a teacher in high school was like, "You'll love it, you'll love it, you'll love it." I had her for 2 years. I didn't even look at the campus on like an official tour or anything. Um, because after I got accepted, it was the pandemic, tours had already closed. So I was emailing and Zooming with professors. And if they were giving me that much time, I think I met with a professor 3 times, asking questions and stuff like that. Um, I knew it would be a good institution, right? They already cared about me that much to give me their time of day. Just imagine how much they would give me once I was already a student paying money to be here. Is kind of how I thought of it. And I'm happy to say that it's held up over the past 4 years, extraordinarily well. The community is great. The professors are amazing. They really do care about you. And it just makes college that much easier and that much more enjoyable.
Well, thank you, Melanie, Julia, Ashley, Braden, and Dorian for sharing all of your wisdom, your perspectives, your experiences with our admitted students this evening, but also just your honesty and your authenticity as well. So again, thank you so much for sharing. For those of you who do have any follow-up questions, feel free to connect with us. We encourage you to join the Class of 2028 Discord. We have current students who are engaging in that space, and we want to connect with you. We want you to have your questions answered, and we also understand that some of you may be have some follow-up financial aid conversations. We recognize that there is a landscape, particularly due to FAFSA delays, and being able to support you in making your decision. And so don't hesitate to email admissions@skidmore.edu or finaid@skidmore.edu to connect with our financial aid office, and we're happy to support you. But at this time, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you have a wonderful evening, morning, or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you soon. Take care, everyone.